everybody, it's Sid from Cool Moviegram, your source for everything about cool film. If you're new here, please hit the subscribe button, check out my other videos and let me know your thoughts. And those of you who've already done that, thank you and welcome back to the channel. Yes, it's we're still kind of like letting those fists of FU-BRUARY do their damage, and we are checking out my 50 favorite kung fu movies of all time. Now today we're going to be covering, it's the 7th video, which we are covering films number 20 to 16. So we are kind of like more or less, we are getting to almost pretty much the elite stage of like kung fu movies, in my opinion. These are the ones that are kind of like, you know, as each of the films go, for me, they're just getting better and better. And these are the films that are just kind of like, we're pretty much in like the 5-star territory when it comes to kung fu movies. And I don't want to waste any more time just blabbering on about this stuff. So without further ado, let's just kind of like smash into this, man. Number 20 is Fong Sayuk, starring 1993 film directed by Corey Yun, starring Jet Li, Michelle Reese, Vincent Zhao and Josephine Zhao. And young hero Fong Sayuk is constantly getting into trouble. He meets Ting Ting and falls in love. However, he's forced to marry Tiger Luo's daughter, and things would actually get complicated when finding out his father is actually part of the Red Lotus Society, which is an anti-government triad. Well, yeah, I've already covered this film in my review for the 88 Films release, which they've done an absolutely amazing job. One of my favorite releases of the year. This is like the second time in a row that the 88 Films, I mean, previously they did Long Arm of the Law 1 and 2. They did a great job of that release, and also the Fong Sayuk box set I thought was an absolutely amazing banger of a release. But yeah, again, I mean, I don't know how much more I can praise this movie, because I've already covered this in that video, and it is great. I mean, come on, the fights between Jet Li and Vincent Zhao are absolutely amazing. Vincent Zhao makes for a brilliant villain, especially being that this is his first movie, and the fact that you know, Josephine Zhao is absolutely hilarious. And you know, my favorite fight in the movie being especially the fight under the kind of like the floorboards of the the podium at the end between Jet Li and Vincent Zhao. That was just the way that was shot. It was absolutely amazing. You know, the cinematography, the colourful, the artness, the artistic side of this movie, thanks to the art director An Hui in this film, was absolutely incredible. You know, really kind of like colourful production value, great fight scenes all over, and definitely a film worth checking out if you haven't. And definitely I would say get the 88 film release, which is the either 4K or Blu-ray. And you know, you got the films in the original language just restored to an amazing 4K restoration. Definitely check this movie out. Number 19 is The Blade, which is a 1995 film directed by Choi Hawk, starring Vincent Zhao, Moses Chan, Sunny Soo, Hong Yan, and Austin White. Now, a swordsmith trains and raises his slain friend's son, who actually died protecting this man. The boy grows up harboring feelings of vengeance against his father's killer, who is a tattooed bandit with blades. And after saving the smith's daughter, he actually loses his right arm. And now he actually lives in seclusion with a hermit girl who actually nurses him back to health. He ends up finding a manual which is of a lost martial art of swordplay style, and he ends up using his father's broken blade as a way to kind of like fight against the injustice and the evils in society. Yeah, this was Choi Hawk's remake of The One-Armed Swordsman, the Chang Che classic starring Jimmy Wang Yu, and this criminally underrated film. Definitely one of like the best movies I've probably seen, not just in the martial arts genre, but just as in film in general. I mean, the film's visual style is just absolutely incredible. It just captures such like a brutal kind of feel to it. It's not a very colourful film. It's got this very bleak kind of feel to it. The fights themselves, I mean, it's not really that much kind of like emphasis on the technique, but it's just the way that the fights were captured, the editing, and just the kind of the mood, the atmosphere of the actual kind of fights. They are absolutely incredible and so kind of visceral and violent to watch. I mean, some scenes some people might find really kind of gruesome, especially when you see how like a monk is actually killed by some of these like really kind of like rough, horrible kind of like bandits and whatnot. And you know, you see, I mean, you even got like screen siren of the 90s, Valerie Chow in like a small role as a prostitute, and she kind of brings a lot of depth. And even Moses Chan does a pretty great job as one of his kind of like classmates. But Sonny Sue, of course, she's the most annoying character of it. The fact that she's kind of using her kind of like, knowing that she's kind of like got these kind of this way of kind of like toying with these men's emotions, turning them against them. The fact that she gets some sort of pleasure out of it, that's the only thing that I kind of like, I can't stand that character. But overall, again, this film is, I mean, especially the finale is just done absolutely well. I mean, it's one of those films that you just kind of sit down, you just get absorbed by the world that Choi Hak creates. And in ways, I would definitely say this is like a much superior remake than the actual, that it's actually better than the film that it was remaking. Definitely, without a doubt. Number 18 is Once Upon a Time in China Part 2, a 1992 film directed by Choi Hak again, starring Jet Li, Mok Seo-chung, Rosamund Kwan, Donnie Yen, and David Chang. Wong Fei-hung, Lung Foon, and 13th Aunt are traveling to Guangzhou in order to attend a medical conference. And when seeing the corruption and chaos in the region, Wang is in the middle of an ongoing struggle between the Qing government, Sun Yat-sen's revolutionary, and a fanatical cult called the White Lotus Society. Again, this movie itself is again one of like Choi Hak's best movies. I mean, when it comes to like, especially when it comes to his kung fu movies, Once Upon a Time in China 2 is an absolute delight. And overall, I mean, the film itself, it paints like this kind of brutality, especially of that era. It has like a much more kind of like enriched, kind of evolved kind of feel to the film, not just like one of those like the usual kind of films that were made back in the 70s or 80s, but this kind of expands more in terms of like the world that they're in, and like it kind of brings a bit more kind of like a kind of much more outdoor kind of feel to it. It's just something that's a bit more expansive than just the usual studio backlots. And the production design in this film is absolutely amazing. Again, Jet Li himself, I mean, when he was pretty much riding high of the success of the first Once Upon a Time in China movie, and of course just pretty much you know, he had instantly kind of like just revived his career, became a star in Hong Kong. I mean, Shaolin Temple was his breakthrough in mainland China, but Once Upon a Time in China was his breakthrough in Hong Kong, which kind of finally gave him that hit he needed. And again, this is one of like, you know, again, his top tier films, I would say, definitely, without, you know, alongside like films like Fong Sai-yuk. And in this movie, I mean, the fact that you even get like veterans like David Chang kind of like given like supporting roles, even though he doesn't get to do any kung fu in this film. And but of course his fights with Hong Yang-yan, who plays like this kind of like leader of the White Lotus Society, which is like a society that's very anti anything kind of immigrant or kind of anything foreign. The fact that they're actually burning foreign books and even killing off a foreign dog at the start of the movie as well, which is really kind of crazy. And you know, the fact that they're kind of radicalizing people, and then also you know, his fights with Jet Li were done really well. And even though there's quite a fair bit of wire work, but I mean, the piece de resistance of this, like in terms of the martial arts, is without doubt going to be like the two fights that Jet Li has with Donnie Yen, who's playing like a kind of a Qing government general, and those fights are absolutely amazing. I mean, there's some use of wire work in them, but the fact is the majority of their fight is done without any wire work, which is really impressive. The use of the music score and everything is just absolutely spot on, even though Mok Seo Chung is quite kind of annoying as Lung Foon, but you know, he's bearable. He's just like there in the background, but you know, nobody really was too concerned, especially when you've got like two titans like Donnie Yen and Jet Li having a duel. And again, you know, this is, you know, one of like Choi Hark's masterpieces, I would say, in terms of like martial arts cinema, and definitely worth watching again. I mean, Eureka have released it, Criterion have released it. I don't know who's going to put out the 4Ks now, but then definitely a film as well as the first one, definitely worth checking out. Number 17 is Kid with the Golden Arm, a 1979 film directed by Chung Chae, starring Lo Meng, Philip Kwok, Sun Chin, Wei Pai, Wang Lung Wei, and Chang Sheng. A criminal organization headed by a kung fu master known as Golden Arm Kid, who's a young man with amazing kung fu skills, really strong and feared. He targets a 200,000 taels of gold which are being transported by a private security company. They hire a band of renowned swordsmen and warriors to actually take on Golden Arm and his band of highly skilled members of his gang, and also they are more or less helped by a drink-loving government agent who's trying to bring down the Golden Arm Kids gang. What can I say? This film is just absolutely like, just again, this is one of like the strongest films on the Venom mob, without a doubt. I mean, when it comes to like these films, I mean, like Five Deadly Venoms, you got Kid with the Golden Arm, Invincible Shaolin, and Crippled Avengers. So many. I mean, they just made martial arts movie gold. They made kung fu movie gold. These guys did. I mean, again, some really interesting kind of choreography. You get like everything from, like, for example, you get Chang Sheng fighting with these like two small axes, two axes and stuff, and like he's mixing his choreography. I mean, Lu Feng does great. I mean, you got Wang Lung Wei playing like the guy Iron Ro Biem, who kind of carries like a metal fan, to fight, kind of like an iron fan to kind of fight with as well. The fact that each of the characters have their own individual abilities and their individual styles is done really well. Visually, it's pretty good. It's just like visually, it's just like really kind of well captured. It's just outlandishly violent, and it's just such an iconic movie. Again, referenced by Wu-Tang Clan, as the rapper U-God goes by by his kind of alias Golden Arms, which is pretty much like a reference to this film. That's just how kind of like how iconic this film is. And again, Chang Chae does a great job of kind of utilizing the Shaw Brothers studio sets, and you know, putting these great fights throughout this film, a lot of suspense and everything, and it just keeps you glued to the screen. And definitely a film, you know, which is always at least so many people revisit this like on several occasions and so many times that over the years, it's just kind of like has that reputation that just kind of goes beyond. Number 16 finally is Heroes of the East, which is a 1978 film directed by Lau Ka-leung, starring Gordon Liu, Yuka Mizuno, Yasuaki Kurata. Now, a Chinese martial artist marries a Japanese woman in an arranged marriage between his father and the business partner. Now, their vow of matrimony is put to the test when they both think their individual native fighting styles are superior than the other. Now, eventually this leads to the man being tested by 7 martial arts experts from Japan of different styles. I mean, plot-wise, this is kind of like a very kind of light-hearted romantic comedy in a way, but then the fact is that, beyond that, I mean, the film again is filled with some really kind of like inventive martial arts sequences. It's filled with like really interesting kind of like styles. You see like Chinese martial arts styles, which Lo Ka-Leung himself kind of like really kind of puts together this really interesting story, and like he kind of details the martial arts in such a perfect way. And I mean, you get to see like, for example, Gordon Liu kind of learning all these different styles in order to kind of like combat his opponents in different styles. And he's fighting a judo guy, he fights a karate guy, he fights people with like the samurai skill in sword style, as well as even the ninja. I mean, this film, when it was released by World Northall in English back in like the 80s, I believe, it was called Shaolin Challenges Ninja, Shaolin versus Ninja. And even that's when the UK, it was actually also released on VHS by Warner Brothers. This is one of like the bunch of some of the subtitles that they did release. And yeah, this is really good. I mean, you even get like Lo Ka-Leung playing like a drunk beggar, like a kind of like a beggar soul type of character, which I believe that I think he was playing beggar soul, who kind of like you see Gordon Liu's friends kind of like provoke this man to kind of like get him to kind of display his drunken boxing, so Gordon Liu can learn it. He kind of starts mimicking him in order to use it to fight one of the Japanese fighters. And the fact that you even got like the Japanese fighters made of like Yasuaki Kurata, who's like an absolute kind of staple of kung fu movies. I mean, he's like, a lot of the times he is actually cast as the bad guy. The fact that this time around they're not actually making like a Chinese versus the Japanese film, like the Chinese are good and the Japanese are bad. It's just a matter of like just testing one another's skills. And the fact is, this is one of the films that kind of brings them two together, because there has always been a lot of kind of animosity between the Japanese and the Chinese, and because of all that, past horrors of the wars and whatnot. The fact that this film just kind of aims to kind of look beyond that and kind of bring these two kind of cultures together and look at their similarities. And you get to see Yasuaki Karate kind of use this kind of crab style of fighting, which is quite funky to begin with, but it's fun to watch. And I would definitely, I mean, it is an absolute classic of a film, and I mean, kind of like a Taming of the Shrew story, but just filled with some absolutely badass, insane martial arts. Okay, that was my picks 20 to 16. Be sure to check out my other videos. Let me know in the comments, please. What did you think of these films? And I hope you are enjoying the series so far, because this is quite strenuous, and I have to do pretty much a lot to try and make sure I can get these all done for this month. And the fact that you guys are subscribing, again, I thank you very much. Your support means a lot to me. It's really appreciated. Well, I'm signing out. Take care.